Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Theodore and I'm a student at the University of Cambridge. It is indeed story time because what I want to do today is talk to you about how I prepared for my Cambridge interviews 4 years ago already, and give you some advice on how you can prepare for your interviews as well. This video is going to be part of a series. I aim to do 2 or 3 videos on my Cambridge interview experience and how it all went, and give you some advice. I hope this will be valuable for you, so let's get right into it after my intro. So in 2015 I applied to study modern and medieval languages, German and Spanish, at the University of Cambridge, and that involved writing a personal statement and sitting an interview. So the interview involved a Spanish interview, a written examination, and the German interview, all on the same day. My preparation really started in early spring 2015 when I started preparing my reading for the personal statement. So the reading list that I put together with the help of Albion International, a British educational consultancy firm founded in Bucharest, comprised important topics such as German history and culture, Spanish history and culture, as well as linguistics and language acquisition theory from theorists such as Steven Pinker and David Crystal. I'll put a link to the entire reading list down in the description, and on this note, please don't forget to subscribe as it really motivates me to keep doing these videos. It's just the red button on the right here, and you can also click the bell to be notified when I post new videos, usually every Friday at noon. So I gathered this reading list early in spring 2015 and starting reading on it to be able to mention some of this stuff in my personal statement, and also talk about it in the interview. Because as you probably already know, your Oxbridge personal statement should be more analytical than descriptive, and which means that you should use that reading to form an argument in your personal statement and demonstrate your critical capabilities and demonstrate that you are actually thinking about that stuff and not just writing about what else you're doing in your spare time. But if you're watching this and you've already been invited for interview, congratulations. You've probably written your personal statement. So I'll tell you what I did from the moment I submitted my personal statement and was invited to interview up until the day of the interview, which will be the topic of the next video. So my personal statement had an introduction and 2 big sections, one on German culture and one on Spanish culture, and I spent the entire time from October to December honing in on those notions and concepts that I mentioned, and really expanding my knowledge on both of these topics. So besides taking notes from these books that I linked below, I also watched loads and loads of YouTube videos of German philosophy mainly, which really expanded my understanding of German culture. Much of my general knowledge on philosophy and historical and political thinkers comes from that period, even though I did not use most of that information in my interview directly. In a nutshell, what I did to prepare for my German and Spanish interviews was to take thorough notes from books about German and Spanish culture and literature, and watch YouTube videos on these topics to get a breadth of knowledge that I could then use. And also towards the day of the exam, I started using active recall techniques to make sure that I can access that information at any time during the interview. Something that I forgot to mention was that during the summer I also went to Madrid for 3 weeks. I wasn't really expected to speak Spanish in the interview because it was an application for advanced German and Spanish ab initio, which means beginner or from scratch. It really was a plus that I could speak a bit of Spanish in the interview, although it was not absolutely necessary. I'm sure people got in who didn't speak too much Spanish up to that point, but that's what I did, and it really helped me get a kickstart for my first year as well. I found the Spanish language courses much easier because I'd been to Madrid 1 year before, but more on that later. So aside from that, I also had to prepare for a written examination that included a stylistical analysis of a text or speech, as well as an opinion piece, both about 1 or 2 pages long maximum. And what I did to prepare for that was to analyze lots and lots of famous speeches from JFK, for example, or other older texts which had very much rhetorical value. I found explanations on how to do that on the internet, also in YouTube videos, and also I found more texts on American websites from US universities. As I'm editing this, I realized that I didn't explain everything properly about this, so let me explain it. So basically what I had to do was to explain how authors used rhetoric, ethos, and pathos to put their argument forward and be compelling and convincing. Rhetoric or style refers to the figures of speech employed in order to put their ideas forward, such as comparisons or repetition, enumeration, and all these stylistic techniques that you learn to analyze in literary texts in high school. Then ethos refers to what other sources they quote or who they mention, or even their position in society and who they are, what their studies were, and what their academic formation was, which all make this person who is speaking or writing a text more convincing, because we perceive that person as knowledgeable on a certain topic. And for example, the fact that I'm saying that I currently am a Cambridge student is part of the ethos of this video and this YouTube channel in its entirety, really. And thirdly, then pathos is how the authors appeal to emotion to put their ideas forward and make the reader connect with what they have to say. So an analysis of how these 3 categories work together to create a compelling text or speech was what I had to do for one part of my written examination, and for the second part I had to give my own opinion and argue for or against, or find a middle ground, but still create a compelling opinion piece of about 1 or 2 pages, not very long. And on this note, if you're preparing for your interviews right now, I have a bunch of other videos that you might want to check out. One of them would be about how I take notes. I started by talking about how to take notes in lectures, which doesn't directly apply to you right now, but I also talk about how I take notes from books and what I do to take notes efficiently and remember all that information the first time around. So that's something you might be interested in. And the second video I think you might like is 1 hour Pomodoro session. So basically 2 times 25 minutes with a break of 5 minutes in between, with music, so that you can focus on studying and reading for the interview. I highly suggest you check out the other videos on the channel as well. And now back to the rest of the video. Also, something else that really helped me improve my interview performance was doing mock exams or mock interviews with Albion International. I did these during the weekends. I did a general one about languages and linguistics, and then I did one on more German specific topics and on Spanish specific topics. In order to prepare for this interview, I skipped school for the last 2 weeks before the interview, which took place in December, but it was fine because teachers knew about it, and it was quite common because people were preparing for their finals, and it's what people usually do in Romania in their last year of school. People skip school in order to get more time to learn for their final exams. That is a paradox, but it's what happens. I really aimed towards getting the feeling that there was nothing else to add. Of course there always is, but I aimed to be able to at least explain my reasoning on any topic that could possibly be given to me. And I really felt I could on the night before the interview. And I also felt that asking of me anything more than I already knew or that I could already talk about would have been just absurd. Because of course you have to think that you have to have a really good basis of knowledge on the topic that you're applying for, but they also have to have something to teach you when you eventually get there. So they don't expect you to know everything, but they expect you to be able to think about anything that is related to your intended topic. I prepared up to the last evening, which I took off and relaxed a little bit. My parents accompanied me to Cambridge, and it was a really fun and relaxed evening. And that leads me to how the interviews are conducted. And was my interview day a good day or a bad day? Was it the best or the worst experience of my life? That's something I will talk about in my next video. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends, spread the word. And please don't forget to subscribe, because it really motivates me to keep doing these videos. So if you got up to this point, you're probably a student or preparing to apply for university, and the videos that I'm going to make are always going to be about this stuff, and I'll try to make them really useful for you. So I'd really appreciate it if you subscribed and press that bell button to be notified when I post. Usually, as I said, every Friday at noon. And I'll see you in my next videos. Bye.